What's up, sports fans? This is the Lucas Ross Sports Channel. We continue with our 2025 predictions for the upcoming 2025 college football season. Up next is the Boston College Eagles. Boston College, of course, coming off actually a very surprising season last year, coming off a sneaky 7-6 year in 2024. Bill O'Brien, of course, taking over as the head coach in his first season. Yeah, it was a pretty successful year for Boston College, but mainly it was because of the schedule, in my opinion. This year for 2025, they have a tougher schedule, in my opinion, and with that, I think it's really going to come down to that. It's really going to come down to the schedule for Boston College. You look at both sides of the football, they do lose their starting quarterback from last year. That's a pretty big loss there for Boston College, so the quarterback position might be actually a concern for this team because they only have a couple options there, so I think it's going to be Grayson James starting, though, at quarterback for this team in 2025. He did play a little bit last year, so we'll see how much he can improve for this Boston College team, but I think this team is actually going to be pretty solid at running the football a lot more, and I think everywhere else is just pretty solid. That's about it for this Boston College team, but again, the schedule is even tougher this year in 2025, and here is that schedule. Again, Boston College, they were 7-6 last year in 2024, so let's go game by game, and I'll give you my official prediction for Boston College for 2025, and they'll kick off the season with Fordham, an FCS team there on August the 30th. That should be a pretty easy win for Boston College, so I think they get off to an easily 1-0 start to open up the season, and then they play a big non-conference game on the road at Michigan State on September 6th. Of course, these two teams met last year. I believe it was like in week 3, and this year they'll meet in week number 2, and this time Boston College has to go on the road to play the Spartans. Michigan State, pretty similar to Boston College, a team that's trying to head in the right direction. That was obviously the difference here between these two teams. Boston College ended up being a solid team. Michigan State ended up being a team that came up just short of making it to a bowl game last year. The Spartans, they don't have the talented roster, but they could probably be improved a little bit this year in 2025. Some of these second-year head coaches, they can be improved a little bit, but sometimes they don't. I think this will be a low-scoring defensive game. I'm kind of expecting it to be a game that can go either way. When I look at the two rosters, I just think it's pretty even. So yeah, 50-50 game, flip a coin. I think this is where home field advantage will be the difference, and I'm going to say that the Spartans will get revenge on Boston College after last year's loss. So I got Michigan State winning that game, and that's going to put Boston College at 1-1. After that, it's a road game to open up conference play against Stanford on September 13th. So yeah, they have to travel out west here after a Michigan State game on the road. So yeah, this is going to be a pretty tough one here for the Eagles, and we saw that, of course, last year. A lot of teams that traveled out west, they had a pretty tough time winning these games, and we did see a bunch of upsets that did occur. But yeah, Stanford, they're a team that just has so many question marks, though. You look at the two rosters on paper, I think they're both pretty even, but Boston College definitely has a lot more depth at the on both sides of the football, and I think the running game probably is going to be the difference here for Boston College in this game. Again, I don't think Stanford is going to be a bad team, but I just don't think they're going to be all that great this year. Again, it's a new coach, it's a new era, and pretty much it's like a lot of new players as well that we just don't know how good this team is going to be. So I think Boston College, even out west, I think they beat Stanford here on September the 13th. I wouldn't be surprised if they did lose this game, but I think Boston College on paper looks like the better team. So I'm going to say Boston College gets the win, and I got them improving to 2-1. They get their first bye week of the season before playing Cal on September 27th. California, a home game here for Boston College. So yeah, they get some time to recover after that, long trip out west to Stanford. I think that's going to help out this Boston College team a lot. Cal's a team that I think will be pretty solid as well. I think these two rosters are also pretty dead even. They don't really have the most talented rosters, but they do have solid rosters, if that makes sense. So I think this is a 50-50 game. Flip a coin for me. I'm going to say that home field advantage will be the difference here as well. So I think Boston College improves to 3-1 with a close win over California there on September 27th. So they get to the month of October now at 3-1 on the season, and then they play Pittsburgh on the road on October 4th. So from this stretch right here, from October 4th to end of the season, I think this is where the schedule kind of gets tougher for Boston College. Pittsburgh, though, is a team that's pretty similar to Boston College. They're going to want to run the football in this game. I think this will be a physical game between these two teams. And, I did Pittsburgh's prediction already, so I did have Pittsburgh already winning this game. I think it's a competitive game, probably low scoring, but it's a game that really can go either way in my opinion. But yeah, I think the Panthers do get the win just because of the home field advantage. So yeah, I got the Panthers getting the win here. Going with Pitt in that one, and I got Boston College now falling to 3-2. And then it's a home game against Clemson on October the 11th. Clemson is a team that's going to have a ton of experience coming back on both sides of the football. Cade Klubnik is really, a talented quarterback. We saw how better he got last year under Garrett Riley's offensive system. So yeah, Clemson definitely overall should be pretty good, and they could be a dangerous team. And I just don't know if this game will be all that close. Boston College is a team that's just way behind Clemson. Maybe they run the football in this game, but I just don't know if it will be enough. I don't see Boston College scoring a ton in this game, so I'm going to say that the Tigers win this one fairly big. So I got Boston College falling in that game, and then I got them beating UConn here on October 18th. UConn was a pretty solid Group of 5 team last year, and you never know. Boston College might come in a little bit beat up, especially after playing a physical Clemson team from last week. Maybe they get off to a slow start, and UConn can make this a little bit close, but I think Boston College definitely the better team. They should be able to win this game, and I got them improving to 4-3. After that, it's a road game at Louisville on October the 25th. Louisville, I think, is going to be a pretty solid team. They have a class full of transfers on both sides of the football. Miller Moss, I think, is a huge upgrade at quarterback for this team. This one's on the road. I think Boston College, maybe their run game, they can probably run the football against this Louisville team, and they can make this a close game in the first half, but it won't really be enough. I think Louisville definitely is the better team, so I think Louisville gets the win here against Boston College, and they give them their 4th loss of the season, so that's going to put them at 4-4. And then they play at home against Notre Dame on November 1st. This is going to be another tough game here for Boston College. Yeah, the two biggest games on the schedule are definitely, maybe 3 of them. They're probably Clemson, Notre Dame, and SMU. These are all 3 games that are at home, and they're all 3 going to be tough. But you look at Notre Dame, this is another game that I just don't see being all that close. This will be like a game where I think it's going to be really, really low scoring, where both teams are just going to want to run the football. Notre Dame, though, has got the better running attack in my opinion, and they definitely look better on defense than Boston College, way better than them on paper as well. So yeah, Notre Dame, top 5 team, possibly a top 10 team. Don't see this one being all that close either, so I got Notre Dame getting the win here, and that's going to give them at 4-5 on the season. And then they play SMU at home on November 8th. SMU is a team, you look at the quarterback position, Kevin Jennings is back. You look at the running game, they lost some pretty good running backs, and then defensively, they lost some good players on the defensive line. So maybe Boston College can actually run the football in this game against this SMU team. But I just think SMU is definitely a more well-coached team than Boston College is. But you look at from last week, maybe Boston College comes in a little bit beat up, especially after playing a physical game against Notre Dame. That's probably going to cost them in this game. So I think they come in a little bit sloppy here, but I do expect a close game. I think this is where Boston College could potentially pull off an upset, but I'm going to go with SMU here. So I got the Mustangs getting the win, and I got this Boston College team now at 4-6. So they need to get 2 wins in order to make it to a bowl game. They play Georgia Tech at home after that on November 15th. Georgia Tech is a team that I think could be sneaky good this year. They could be like a dark horse team in the ACC. Georgia Tech is a team that you don't want to probably run the football against if you're on the defensive side of the football. Haynes King at quarterback, he can run. This Georgia Tech team should be able to run the football, and I think their defense actually will be pretty good as well, and I also like their offensive line. So yeah, Georgia Tech, I think their running game will probably be the difference in this one. I think this is another game where it probably depends on which team has the better running attack. But I think Georgia Tech's experience, they definitely have the more experienced roster, and I think the Yellow Jackets do get the win. So Boston College will miss a bowl game this year, so that's going to put them at 4-7, and then they get their second bye week, not until playing Syracuse in the final game of the season. Here on the road on November 29th, Syracuse kind of has the same issues like Boston College does, especially at the quarterback position. It really does come down to whichever quarterback can shine in this game. Defensively and depth-wise, I think, you look at these two teams, Boston College definitely has a lot more depth than Syracuse does, but, Syracuse, I don't really expect this team to be all that great this year. I think it will be a competitive game, but still, I had a very tough time with this one, and because it's on the road, this is kind of a tough place to play as well for Boston College, but I think the Eagles are actually going to come up short here. So I had a very tough time with this one. I was going to pick Boston College, but I decided to go with Syracuse just because it was a tough game to call. So I think home field advantage will be also the difference in this one, and I think Syracuse beats Boston College to close out the year. So I got Boston College not even going into a bowl game this year. I got this team at 4-8. So this team probably could be a step back this year just because of how tough this schedule is. Again, you got Michigan State in the non-conference. Then you got 3 tough games at home: Clemson, Notre Dame, and SMU. If they at least win one of those games, then they probably go to a bowl game. But if they probably lose them all, or maybe if they probably don't lose to Georgia Tech, then they could probably go 6-6. I think the most likely records for this team, I think it's 4-8, 5-7, and then your best case is probably 6-6 and making it to a bowl game. Again, just a very tough schedule for Boston College, and I think that's the reason why the Eagles will take a step back in 2025 at 4-8. So that's my prediction for Boston College for 2025. Do you guys agree or disagree with this prediction? And give me your prediction for Boston College down in the comments below. Thank you for watching this video, and stay tuned for more sports content videos on my Lucas Ross Sports YouTube channel.